Chapter 2, Part 4. Especially you, Dalibor grunted, halting in front of Timos. What did I recruit? Drunks from the haddock? You'll never be a kingsman looking like that. Suck in your gut. To add insult, the freckled gang leader jabbed him in the stomach with his toy sword. Yes, sir, Timos shouted as snickers rippled through the line of boys. He tried to obey, but his gut popped out after a few seconds. Dalibor shook his head, muttering something about shame. Lay off the ale and sweets, soldier, and get that woman of yours to stop spoiling you with food. Timos winced. His easy grin hardened into a mask of his father's fury. He wanted to punch the boy. Nobody talks about Ma like that, except Dalibor did, and on account of being 4 years older, a captain's son and the gang's leader. Swallowing his anger, Timos stared ahead as Dalibor moved down the line, mocking every boy except those of his innermost circle. They basked in cheers, held up like shining examples to the other 14 boys. Timos's neighbor tilted his head and whispered, Dalibor would marry Mate if he could. Timos and the boy on his other side barked with laughter, straightening as Dalibor barked for order. Once silence returned, their leader droned on about Mate's flawless swordplay. Bored and waiting for the real fun, Timos stared across the field and into the distance. Beyond the crops, gentle foothills dotted with mines rose toward the dragon-spined mountains. Mist clung to the basaments, hiding all but a few jagged peaks. The field itself rolled like a golden sea, filled with wheat as tall as Timos. Eyes half-lidded, he almost missed it. A shape, no, 2 shapes, slipping through the stalks. Did you see that? John asked. Timos nodded. I heard it too. A faint, muffled cry floated on the wind. We should go check it out, John urged. Timos hesitated, glancing back at Dalibor, who neared the parade's end. Nodding, he agreed. Hey you, chirped Renato, Dalibor's second-in-command. The gangly boy spun on them. Renato scowled. Get back in line or I'll put you there. But Timos started, the cries swallowed by the wind. We saw something, John interrupted. A man dragging someone by the arm. He pointed to the field where the shapes had disappeared into the tall crops. I see nothing, Renato frowned. Because you weren't looking when it happened, you dolt. A flick of Renato's wrist and his wooden sword clanked against John's head. Ouch! John rubbed his brow, a welt already blooming. And there's more where that came from, Renato hissed. If you want to chase ghosts, go scout it out while the rest of us train. Dalibor then called the boys to pair off for sword practice. As they obeyed, he swaggered over, arms crossed and eyeing the trio. What's all this, then? Renato relayed their story. But I saw nothing, Captain. Dalibor rubbed his chin. Then you 3 will scout Farmer Sampson's field. Me? Renato protested. Why should I have to miss practice? Because you command them. If they're right, you'll handle it. If they're lying, you'll discipline these yokels for breaking order, understand? Grumbling, Renato nodded. Timos and John dashed into the field, with Renato chasing, teeth clenched. Snakes, birds, and field mice scattered as they crashed through the tall wheat. They slowed only once they were deep inside the field. This is it, Timos said, kneeling and pressing his hands to the earth, warm from the sun and freshly disturbed. His hand traced over churned soil and a track made by the heel of a boot. Renato, sweat pouring, caught up and opened his mouth, but John silenced him with a finger pressed to his lips. He tapped his ear. Murmurs came from nearby, a man's voice, hurried and urgent. Get up, Renato hissed. You don't need to be the High King's scout to follow this trail. He gestured to a line of bent, broken stalks. Pushing Timos aside, Renato hefted his wooden sword and crept toward the voices. Timos and John exchanged a glance and followed. Crouching, they approached the source of the disturbance. The land dipped into a basin surrounded by rose bushes and other plants. Ahead, in a clearing, a crooked tree leaned over the water, a rope swing dangling from its branches. Near the pond stood the 2 figures, a man and a girl. Renato cursed under his breath. Luca. That's Miriam, Timos whispered. You know her? John asked. Timos nodded. She lost her father before she was born. My da brings alms to widows and orphans, and sometimes I go along. That's how I know her. Luca's dark hair spilled down his back like ink, his movements twitchy like a bird's. The boys caught some of his murmured words. This is our secret. Right, Miriam? I have more treats for you. You promised we're friends, yes? The girl nodded, her face flickering with unease. Don't be scared, Luca said softly. Friends trust each other. Timos' stomach knotted. A sickening wave flooded him. Whatever Luca was doing, it was unnatural. We have to get the guard, Renato said. Timos shook his head. If we go for help, it might be too late. There are 3 of us and 1 of him. We can handle this. Renato's face went pale. He's a man, we're boys, we'll get crushed. What happened to being a brave swordsman? That was all pretend, you bloody dolt. Come on, before it's too late. Renato glanced at Timos and then John. John nodded, mouthing, Sorry, Timmy. Stay or come, Renato said, turning away. Just don't get yourself killed playing hero. Cowards, Timos thought, watching them vanish into the wheat. Fine, I'll do this alone. He scanned for something to use, and necessity made him grab a stone smaller than his palm. Luca had the girl calm again and was reaching toward her, but this time a threat stopped him. Leave Miriam alone, Timos said, stepping into the open and circling the pond until he stood a few strides from them. Luca's golden eyes widened, then narrowed with a sneer. Or what? You'll throw that pebble at me? This isn't your business, Varellus. Better shut your mouth, or I'll make sure you never speak again. He motioned to a knife sheathed at his belt. Timos's mouth tightened, stomach churning, but he steadied himself. Lifting the rock, he bent his knees, assuming the fighter's stance Dravian had taught him. Last chance. Unhand her, and I'll let you walk. Luca's grip tightened on Miriam's shoulder, tears gleaming in her eyes. Poor choice, boy. You're the one who's going to pay, Uskren. Timos hissed the word all adults used for him. Luca's face flared with fury. Before Timos could react, Luca lunged. One moment Timos stood, the next he was covering his face as fists rained down, turning him black and blue. Miriam's cries faded behind the pounding pain. Through it all, Timos managed to yell, Run! Luca whispered in his ear, breath hot and sticky, smelling like iron. I'll teach you to talk to me like that. No one knows we're here. No one will find you at the bottom of this pond. Timos tried to fight back, but his body refused to move. Luca's fist swung again, but the blow never landed. Eyes fluttering open, Timos gasped as a familiar figure grabbed Luca's wrist. Let me go. The man twisted Luca's hand, then grabbed his neck, pressing until Luca dropped to his knees, begging. Uncle Dravy! Timos wheezed through swollen lips. The warm man he knew was gone, replaced by a creature carved from shadows and sharp angles, a warrior who moved with cold purpose. Yet his face remained calm, as if killing were a mere jaunt through the forest. I think my brother will forgive me for breaking my promise this once, Dravian hissed. As he spoke, a glint flashed as his necklace slipped out from beneath his shirt and caught Luca's gaze. Dravian hastily tucked the jewelry from sight with a snarl. Please, Luca whimpered, his thumb bent back by Dravian's grip, tears streaking his face. I'll go. You'll never see me again, I swear. Dravian's voice was fierce. I was thinking the same. When I'm done, only your bones will remain, and I'll feed them to the hounds, Steele whispered as he drew his dagger. Uncle Dravi, Timos pleaded, terrified and awed. Don't hurt him. Quiet, boy. Life has consequences. This is a man's task, Dravian snapped. Then in a softer tone, I saw your courage. You've got your grandfather's stones. He'd be proud. Luca yelped as Dravi's knife pressed to his skin. But before the fatal strike could be made, voices and handbells rang out. 4 men emerged from the crops, 2 in-town guard blues, followed by the stern Judge Koprivica, dressed in flowing magenta robes, and lastly Farmer Sampson, his face blue with anger and still clutching the chicken he'd been tending to. Unhand him, commanded the guards, swords drawn, and pushing Dravian and Luca apart. Thank the gods, Luca cried, staunching a small cut. That man's a maniac. I was minding my business when he attacked me. Likely story, Uskran, sneered a guard. Take the girl home. As the guards intervened, John and Renato appeared, breathless. Seeing Timos bloodied, John rushed over. I'm all right, Timos said weakly. You're not arresting the Virellis? Luca balked as one of the guards escorted the girl away, promising they would take care of the bad guy. Luca did this, not him, Renato blurted. We know, Judge Koprivica said. Luca, peeping was one thing. I should have you castrated for this. The blood drained for Luca's face. You'd believe this man over me? I've lived in Cordael all my life, Koprivica interrupted, stroking his beard. I've decided he's to be tarred and feathered. That's it? Samson growled. After what he tried on that girl, on my land? True, the penalty for such a crime is death, but since he didn't succeed, I can only punish the attempt. The trespassing warrants whipping. Aye, the guard grunted, manacles snapping upon Luca's wrists. Saluting the judge, he dragged the Euskran away, telling Dravian to consider joining the guard. Dravian laughed. Seems ill-fitting. Suit yourself, the guard said, vanishing into the golden stalks. Only the boys, Dravian, the judge, and Samson remained. When Koprivica spoke again, he did so, not as a judge, but as a man. Thank you, Varellus. Normally it's an omen when a man appears scarred and harried. He nodded at the old burn on Dravian's face. But you're proving the rule wrong. How can we ever repay you? Dravian shrugged and scooped Timos into his arms. A beer on the town's coin will do. Done, Koprivica said. I'll spread the word of your deeds. My thanks, Dravian said. Now I must tend to the boy. Cradled against his uncle, Timos felt fragile, yet untouchable. Closing his eyes, he leaned into the steady heartbeat that lulled him to sleep. I want to be just like Uncle Dravy when I grow up, Timos thought, smiling through cracked lips as exhaustion made its claim. You two get on with your business, Dravian told the boys. Timos needs rest. Will he be all right? John asked. Undoubtedly. He's a fighter. It's in his blood. Come on, lads. Samson's voice faded like a distant echo. At least we can pack honey and things for the Varelli's boy's bravery. Me? A fighter? The smile spread, pain fading as Timos slipped into a deep and dreamless sleep.